Hello, hello. You guys are hearing me?
We can hear you. We are hearing you.
Oh, great, wonderful. How are you guys doing? How are you doing?
We are
Good,
doing fantastic.
good.
Great, great, great. It's a great time of year. It's a great season. It's a great topic we're going to be discussing tonight, which many of us sometimes ponder, and I don't want to use the word struggle, but but many times we feel uncomfortable just receiving. So it's so great that we are really leaning in, I should say, one for a better word, leaning in on this topic tonight so that we can discuss it. And, when we bring topics here for you and on soul, light, and body, and on enrichment, mind, body, and soul, we dive deep. We go very deep because we want to help you to understand and just help you to think a little deeper. And that is what this topic tonight is going to uncover, I should say, because the art of receiving and pouring back into yourself, because sometimes we don't feel worthy of ourselves, do we? Sometimes
Right.
we are overthinking. Sometimes we are overgiving. Sometimes we are overextending ourselves. Sometimes we are people pleasing, and we run ourselves so empty that we don't even have enough for ourselves. So we're not able to be full, right? That's why we wrote our books. Self care is intentional because the art of receiving is also self care, because you're pouring back on you. You're giving to yourself. You're receiving, but you're giving to yourself, because we all work so hard. We talk about the caregivers. We talk in all the industry, because it's we constant giving, we constant serving. We utilizing so much energy in all areas of our lives. And what are we doing for ourselves? Are we pouring back, right? So that we can be worthy enough, that we
True.
can be strong enough, that we can
So
be
true.
courageous enough, that we can
So
stand
true.
tall enough, that when we
Yeah.
walk in rooms, we can hear you. When Lady K, we can hear you loud and clear. When we
Yes.
walk into
Beautiful.
rooms, we can shift energy, because we don't even have to say anything, but our royal aura comes in so strong, so people can feel it before we even speak. Our presence. How is your presence tonight? How are you shifting
Hmm.
spaces when you walk into spaces? How do you leave people when you have an encounterment with them? How do you leave them? Do you leave them drained, or do you leave them inspired? Do you leave them in a space where they become wanting more for themselves because they're inspired so much after that conversation? You light them up, right? You help them
Right.
to dream more, aspire more, want more, and know that they're stronger than they think, and they have enough in themselves, that they are enough, that they don't have to play small, they don't have to shrink, but you can stand out and be strong enough, because the world is such a vast place that we all have space that we can carve out for ourselves to show up and be who we are. I was having we were having a talk with Will, and the backstage, and we were speaking about the different things that he's doing, and we come to a place where we say, he's multidimensional, because he's doing so many things, because whether you want to call it God or spirit or whatever it is, he's so gifted, right? There's so many spaces he can function in, because he tap in. He's tapping into
Mhm.
something that is very special. So people are calling him here to do this, to speak here, to go here, and all of us have that different gift.
Absolutely.
We have to just tap in. We have to get quiet. That's why we talk about on this show. We talk about pausing. Get quiet. Listen to that whisper. Drown the noise out. There's a lot of noise that comes in on a daily basis, right? What are you
Yes.
listening to? What motivates you? And when you carve out that quiet time for yourself, so that you can zoom in. And when you zoom in, you're zooming into tapping in who you are.
Mhm.
Who am I becoming? What are the necessary steps I can take so that I can better my best? What motivates you? So, this is a great discussion that we're going to be having tonight, the art of receiving and pouring into yourself, pouring back into yourself. Because, as we all know, caregivers, we give so much.
Yeah.
And because we love what we do, it's our passion, it's our assignment, actually. But we have to take the time to pour back so that we could show up and show up full. Because when we serve from an empty
Sure.
cup, we're doing a disservice to ourselves and a disservice to the person we're serving. We always want to serve from a full place,
Right.
right? That is why we create the
Mm.
program Bloom Again, Tea Talk and Transformation Ecosystem. So when you come in there, you can sip a cup of tea, whether it's hot tea, cold tea, whatever of your choice, so that you can focus on you get centered, regulate your nervous system, so you're balanced and you're centered. We teach you how to fortify yourself, your morning routine, your nightly routine, so that as you focus on those routine in the morning hours, that you get a quiet time for yourself, and as you fortify yourself, that is pouring back into you before you start your day, so you can be fresh, not only fresh physically, but fresh mentally, fresh
Sure.
emotionally, fresh spiritually. So you embody all of that. People may say, why are
Mhm.
you so happy? Why are you smiling all the time? It's not that you don't carry things with you. It's
Mhm.
not that you not have that you don't have challenges. We all go through challenges.
Absolutely.
We all go through different things in our life. But the joy that sits within us, right, is our birthright, because we take the time, we nourish ourselves, we practice self-care, we choosing the right kind of foods for our body. That's why we wrote the book Your Gut and You, because it's very important for you to take the time to nourish yourself, put the right kind of foods in your body. Because as we all, we have our goals and our dreams and things that we'd like to see come to fruition and to materialize. But to get or to attain all of that, when we do get it, we want to have a level of vitality. We want to be strong enough so we can really enjoy it to the fullness. Be mentally well, be physically well, emotionally well. We have the strength to really enjoy it when it arrives. Celebrate your wins, big or small. You work hard to get there. Celebrate it. Celebrate yourself. It's celebration of yourself and what your wins. Is not arrogance. It's time you taking for yourself, because you have only you and only you alone know how hard you work. You had to believe in yourself. You had to surround yourself with the right kind of people who pour into you. That when the moments that you were giving up, or you were at the brink of giving up, they said, no, you got to get back in the game. You can do it. I know you can. It's in you.
Mhm.
It's within you. And all those, but that is why gratitude is a tool. Gratitude is so important. And we also talk about that in our shows, because we give gratitude to the people who supports us, and also gratitude to ourselves.
Right.
That is part of pouring back into yourself too, because you're grateful for how far you've came. You're grateful for your moments when you stood up when you were weak.
Hmm.
You're grateful for the times when you couldn't even get out of bed, but you said, I can do this. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other, because I know my why is bigger than me. And so you continue to work on yourself. You continue to dream big. Don't let anyone tell that you can't dream big. Yeah, we're talking to you. Dream big. Write out those notes, write out those goals, whatever you
Mhm.
want to aspire and see for yourself. You may looking at your list of 2026 and you may say to yourself, well, I thought I would have gone far by now. You're good where you are right now. Look at your list, revise your list, and remind yourself who you are. Remind yourself that I know I have what it takes. I mightn't get it done right now, but I'm strong enough that I know I will accomplish it. Whatever your spiritual practice is, embrace that. Whether it's God for us. Whatever is it for you, have some form of spiritual practice so that you know that there is something bigger than yourself that you can pull, that you can hold on to, that can anchor you when there are times that you don't have anybody else around you that to keep you supported. Be strong. Embrace your courage. Embrace your determination. Lean into your inner self. Lean into your inner wisdom because there is where you will find peace. Tonight you might be wondering, how am I going to make it? I suffer so many setbacks. I suffer so many rejection. I walk through so many no's. Doors are closing on me. But I want to tell you, and we're here tonight to tell you, those no's, those rejections, those fears,
Mm-hmm.
is redirection for you to step into your new season. So step into your new season. Things may get quiet. Things may look like it's not moving. The universe is just preparing you for your next step. So don't be discouraged. You want to let you know tonight, don't be discouraged. Take the necessary steps to learn the new skills. Take the necessary steps so that you can be strong and embrace the topic we're talking tonight so that you can finish 2026 strong and that you can launch into 2027 smiling, full of great knowledge. We want to thank all of you who's subscribing to our YouTube channel and that we continue to grow because what our YouTube channel is, there are so many great topics that are there for you. That when you subscribe, you can just tap in. This might not be good for you at this time, but you scroll through and see what works for you. Because sometimes you might just want to hear a word. You might just want to hear something that's going to click, that's going to spark your inspiration. That is what our YouTube channel does for you. So we just want to thank you for supporting us and just encourage your other friends to as well to subscribe to our channel so that we can continue to grow. It's a community. We all helping each other because we got great topics, we got great speakers, and all of them now become the alumni of Soul Light and Body. So it's a great space. And thank you for all the notes. Thank you for all the messages. Thank you for everything. We might not get to you right away, but we will because we're working too as well. But we just know that every time that you send a note, you inspired us. Every time you send a message, you inspired us. Every time you send you give us a phone call, you uplift us. You motivates us to keep going, because we live a life of service, and that is what we do. So tonight, sit back and relax, and you gotta and participate in the comments. Let's hear how you pour back into yourself, or if you're having a challenge of receiving a compliment from someone or people doing things for you because you are always a giver and you're always doing things for others, but when the moment comes, someone might want to take you to a spa, or they want to take you for a lunch, or they want to do something for you, you have a hard time in accepting that. So write in the comment, let us know how you're feeling, participate so we can have a good conversation. My name is Lady J, holistic certified holistic health and wellness coach, author, speaker, and among the other things that my lovely Lady K we do together just to uplift and to serve the world. So right now I'm going to pass the mic over to Lady K. Lady K, take the mic.
Wow. You guys are hearing me?
We can
Yes.
hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. This is such a beautiful time of the year, and we want to welcome each and every one of you on Instagram, on Facebook, on 246
Mhm.
Page and Vibes. Um,
LinkedIn.
YouTube, LinkedIn. We just want to welcome you to this space this
Facebook.
evening, whichever part of the world that you are. We just want to welcome you to this space because there is so much of wisdom that is going to be unpacking here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just don't know how to receive and we don't know how to pour back into ourselves. And as I was preparing for this topic, during doing my meditation, there is so many things come up for me to share. And I'm going to touch it now, and I'll touch on a little bit when we get into the whole program tonight. When we look at nature, right? Nature is a sacred rhythm,
Oh,
right?
love that.
Nature is a sacred rhythm that is woven into the fabric of existence.
Wow, that's deep.
You know, we're going deep tonight.
Absolutely.
We're
Right,
really
right. That's
deep
I said it in the
tonight.
beginning. We're gonna go deep tonight, right?
Yeah, and you know, it is so natural, it is so constant, and we really pause to honor this way. And it lives in our lungs, it lives in our spirit, it lives in the quiet exchange between what we take in and what we release.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what? We breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at nature, it teaches us as individual, and it teaches us about balance.
Mm-hmm.
Because receiving is a part of the divine ecosystem of your life. But are we even stopping to pay attention to that sacred rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
Because tonight we're going to be talking about breathing, we're going to be talking about receiving, and we're going to be talking about how are we doing those. When it comes to our emotional state or spiritual state, you know, we really forget the whole truth about all of these state of our lives. We tend to inhale the needs of others. We exhale our love, our time, our labor.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere along the line, we stop receiving. We stop allowing our lives and for us to pour back into ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what happened? We collapse.
Right.
We need to understand that receiving is not weakness,
No.
it's wisdom. And receiving requires softness, it requires trust, it requires courage.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to tell yourself, I'm worthy enough to pour back into me.
That is the word, worthy.
We have to tell ourselves that we are worthy enough to pour back into ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that came to mind when I was really doing and taking a deep dive into this subject, you know, we have to have that spirit of discernment.
Of course.
We
Absolutely.
have to have that spirit of discernment.
Yeah, we have to.
And why I said the spirit of discernment, right, is that many times we don't talk about that part, right? Because it's not everything that is offered to us is meant for you.
That's right.
That is a good
Many
one.
people show up in their lives and they offer, right? Some people give with pure hearts,
Mm-hmm.
some give with hidden intentions,
Correct.
some give to control, some
Yeah.
give to be owed, Some give because they see your light and want access to it. And some want proximity, but not partnership. See that.
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
are receiving. We have to have that discernment and
Yeah.
have armor. Because many things that have to be careful when we are receiving and accepting from people. That's why I understand we can understand why people don't want to take things from people.
Right.
Because there is an intention, something there is an intention behind it many times. But when you have spirit of discernment, if this person is genuine or not.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna take away Will, because I know Will gonna really speak to the subconscious mind.
That's what
Yes.
he does.
And we want you to just sit back this evening and just relax and just have a notepad and a pen, right? Because tonight you will be pouring back into yourself. When we give you a few things that we have here to outline here for you, you're going to realize that you're running, and the way how you're running your life, many times we are depleted. You know, we blow up a balloon, and when you loosen out the air,
Yes.
you blow a balloon up. Just imagine it, right? And you start to lose out the air. Because remember, you're breathing into people. You're giving all that you have into people's lives. But are you taking the time to pour back into yourself? Are you really, really taking the time? And once you learn to receive with clarity, you learn to pour back into yourself with intention. So I'm not going to take up much more time. I just want to toss the mic. I'm certified holistic health and wellness, and we got so much to unpack this evening. And we just hope that you can just sit, grab a notepad, grab a pen, because we really need to look at our lives, where we're heading and what we're doing. And if you really don't like the direction, it's time to do some restoration. It's time to do some restoration. Look at your foundation. Look and see if you have to remodel. If you have to remodel, and it's okay to remodel. You have a choice. You have the capacity to.
Sorry, I was just gonna say. Sorry to jump in, but I say, seeing it, you going out down that line. I was just gonna jump in and say, you talk about remodel, but sometimes you gotta upgrade.
Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
So I am going to toss the mic now to Will. Will, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you.
We know that, as I said before, we know you're going to be talking to the subconscious mind. So I'm going to toss the mic to you now. Take the mic, Will.
All right. Thank you very much for that introduction. Most people who've seen the show know that I'm a regular guest on this show time to time. But for you new guys that's just tuning in and you haven't seen me on the show before, you just had a taste of what the show is like. And Karen there was actually in a zone. That's why I was just going to sit back and just let her keep going. So I wasn't in a rush to interrupt her and say, hey, remember I'm a guest. But no, she was in a zone, so I was going to let her go. But the topic of tonight's show, for instance, this is not an easy subject to talk about. That's why it's hard to get people to talk in depth about this, because it's not as easy as the title suggests it is, right? I mean, when you say a title like this, you can have just a surface level conversation about it, where maybe you're at work, you're standing around the water fountain, and y'all have a quick conversation. You can gloss over this type of topic, right? But that's not what happens when we do these shows together. So this is going to be a very in-depth, make you think about where your life is conversation, as both ladies just alluded to, and they cover some good aspects of what the conversation needs to be about and how deep we need to go with this for you to get your point that you have more than you think you do. Now, let's just take the title, for instance. Oh, by the way, I'm Will Williams, in case nobody knows. I'm Will Williams, and I'm going to wear all of my different hats tonight to bring this message, right? The art of receiving and pouring back into yourself. Okay, now, when Karen came up with this title, the art of, I'm sure at the time that she probably thought about using that into the title, that she didn't probably think about just how in-depth just saying that part of it actually is too. Because the art of something means you have a skill for it. You have a specialized or a gift or a skill set specifically for whatever it is that you're trying to endeavor, right? So when we're talking about receiving, that's a form of art. And I'm going to cover a word here that Lady J. Joan uses pretty much every show. It's tapped in her vocabulary. She would throw this out there that you probably don't even think of as a gift, as a specialized gift. But guess what? Mindfulness is an aspect of a skill. So when you're talking about receiving, mindfulness is a skill set you have tied into being able to receive. And so once you tie that in, now that's a craft, right? Because now you're able to receive without feeling guilty or feeling some measure of why me? I need to give something back if you're giving me something, right? Now, as both ladies kind of alluded to, when you feel guilty about receiving something, that's coming from way back, some point in your childhood. You were told that if you got something or some way a message was implanted in you, where you saw something that made you run from being able to receive something without feeling some type of guilt about it, or feel like I'm not deserving enough of it. Both ladies said worthiness, but you don't feel like you're worthy of it, right? And you can't take that with you and be a good receiver, because as I said, receiving is a gift in an art form. It's an art to it. So as we go down this list, we're going to talk about it spiritually, psychologically, and mentally. Okay? Because all those things tie into this. And like I said at the top of me starting to talk, when we have these type of conversations, we all three like to talk about the depthness of the conversation. So we're not going to give you those surface level. You think you're going to tune in and you're just going to get a little gloss over, and we're going to tap dance around it a little bit and say, oh, that's okay. That's the show. We entertained you. This show is not an entertainment show per se. Okay. And I mentioned this last show that I was on. When you tune in to watch this show, you're going to walk away with something. And so we're going to try to touch it, because when I speak, I'm speaking to your subconscious. So, but now here's the thing. When I say I am, and I say that word, your subconscious rather, opens up to me. But I'm not trying to program you, okay? Because what I want you to do when I open your mind up to take this message in, I want you to put the words, whatever you think you need to be or do, behind the I am. That's going to become your own personal thing. I'm not trying to program you. I'm just trying to tap into where the message is implanted in your thinking and your psyche, to where at some point it's going to come back up. And when it comes up, it'll be at the time that you most probably will need it. So that's why I introduce every message that I give with an I am, because I want you to tell yourself I am whatever you decide you are. Because when you say those words, myself and Lady J talk about this a whole lot when we have these shows. When you say I am, it is powerful. It brings expectations. And while I'm using the word expectation, I want to throw in something real quick before I really get into the depth of this. Expectation has been studied by science, right? And what they found is is that if someone that you are close to has expectations of you, guess what's going to happen? You're going to rise to the level that you need to achieve that expectation. So if whether it's a school setting, work setting, athletics, whatever it may be, the people that surround you that have high expectations for you, they've done studies on this and found that when they support that expectation and nurture it, guess what? You rise to the occasion. Now, if you got people around you talking negative stuff about you or talking that you can't do and you shouldn't try, then guess what? That also buys into your subconscious and it reverses that power. You feel powerless and it takes it away from you. So you don't walk with their chest out, head up, and where you think that I can make this happen. But if people around you support you and give you just a little bit of nurturing, expectations can be achieved.
Yeah.
So don't let anybody around you that's going to talk down on you to tell you you cannot do that. So that's part of you being able to receive, you see, because you got to have good people around you per se. When I say good people, I'm not talking about the morality aspect of it. I'm talking about good people just by natural state of just being good, not of trying to keep you out of heaven, hell, and that kind of thing. I'm just talking about just the nature of you being a human being, seeing this other person as yourself. Okay? Because that's something of a whole nother topic there that we're going to get into at another show, I'm sure. But you have to have people around you that's going to give you a support system. Now, receiving as an art, right? It's to be accepting of something without feeling guilty, which I just covered that part. And where it starts with self-esteem. Lady J mentioned this at the top of her speech, right? Of her opening. You have to have unconditional self-love for you to begin with. If you have that and fully embrace it, I'm not talking about you just saying, I love me, but you don't really mean it. I'm talking about you fully embrace it and believe that you actually accept who you really are. Okay. Not who you present, but who you really are. If you can do that and stay in that energy, your life moves with a flow. Now, these ladies both covered aspect of why people think that a question why you so happy all the time or why you appear to be so happy all the time. Because once you have true unconditional love, guess what happens? You love everything around you all the time. There is no, when you have those moments of tests that come to you and say, well, you know, today is not going to be a good day for you. You accept that, okay? Maybe not this hour, maybe for the next 2 hours, maybe not. But guess what? By hour number 3, I'm going to be back in my flow. It's going to be all right. And so you bounce back. You don't stay in that low moment. You don't stay there. You process it and think about why you are there, what you need to do to get out of that. And at that point, your subconscious allows you to process that information and it steps forward and say, you know what? We're not afraid. We're going to take this head on. Let's go do it. Once it accepts it that you don't have to fear it, then you can step forward and move forward with it because the subconscious accepts what the conscious mind is thinking is saying that we can do this. And so at that point, they're teamed together instead of fighting against one another where the subconscious is trying to keep you safe. It allows the consciousness to come in and say, all right, let's move forward. This is going to be all right. We are all right. And you go forward and do whatever it is you're trying to do, right? Now, that's pouring back into you. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but I'm going to bring you all the way through this. That takes you back into being able to pour back into you because I had to cover that part early so I could take you through the receiving aspect of it on all levels of it, psychologically and spiritually. Now, I want to cover something real quick about also being able to receive. For you people that's religious out there that follow God, whatever that God is for you, right? Now, in the Christian religion, in the Bible, Jesus, God, to me, okay, he wanted to start a ministry. He didn't have any money. So guess what? Mary and Susanna and some other women put the funding up for them to be able to travel around the countryside and go preach to people. Now, without these ladies forming this little unit and supplying the funding for this ministry, it never gets off the ground because some kind of way Jesus God forgot to bring money with him. He left his wallet in heaven. So when he came to earth, he didn't have any money. Okay. he was broke. So luckily, Mary decided, you know what? I believe in you. I see something in you. I got you. So she put the money up along with her friends, and they funded the food, the places they stayed, the transportation. They had to buy donkeys and horses and that kind of thing. Women did this, okay? So God was riding around on donkeys that were paid for by women, but it wasn't no problem, okay? They were happy to do it, and he was happy to receive it. That's where I'm going with this. He didn't give any pushback. He accepted it as a gift from them, and they moved forward, and he went around the countryside and did his preaching, right? But none of that would have happened had he rejected their funding when they were willingly giving it up out of a form of joy, happiness. See, when you give somebody something, you get something back from that. You receive too. And that's why some people, when you give them something, they can't accept it because they think that it's some type of way of going to affect you, or some kind of way they're putting themselves in debt to you. And somebody who openly and willingly wanting to help you, they have no expectations of a return.
Right.
The expectation of return is for you, once you get in your position to where you can do better, that somebody else, and you will run across somebody at some point, that you would be willing to do the same for somebody else. That's where the joy for them giving to you or pouring into you, that's where that comes from. So your outpouring, or you're pouring into yourself, means that you accept that gift, and now you say to yourself, when I get an opportunity, I now know what I need to do. So you take that and accept it, and it becomes joy to you, because now you can pass that along to the next person, and you are going to run into somebody who's going to need your help.
Yes.
You will at some point, if you live on this earth and this material side of the world long enough, at some point you are going to engage with somebody who's going to need your help. And I'm going to give you a quick example of this too. I was in a store parking lot. This is about a month ago now. And I noticed that this young guy and she wasn't his wife, but his girlfriend, and they had a little baby, maybe a year old, right? And so they was pushing this basket through the parking lot. And I was at the end of the parking lot at this point because I'm on the telephone and now before I go park. So I'm sitting there and I'm seeing them come down, and I'm thinking at some point they're going to turn to a car, but they don't. So by the time they make it to where I'm parked at the end of the parking lot, it's a hot day. It's almost I think it was 101 degrees that day. It was hot, and it was around 3:30 in the afternoon. And so they're tired by the time they get to where I am. So they're stopping, they're standing there resting. And I look out my window and they're looking toward my car, right? Now, the message has already been received by me. They're going to ask me for a ride or something to that effect. So I'm just waiting. I'm still on the phone, but I'm waiting for them to come toward the car. So they're having a discussion, but they're steadily looking at where I am. And so finally, the guy starts to walk over toward me. He comes over toward the car. And as he gets closer, I let the window down so he can see me, because I have tinted windows, so he couldn't see me. But as I let the windows down, now he can see me. So I asked him, is there a problem? And I know already what he wants to say to me, right? So he's looking at me and he says, I don't really want to ask you this because you're a stranger. I don't know him. He don't know me. And he says, but can I ask you to give us a ride down? They live probably, I think it ended up being like 4 blocks from the store, from the parking lot I was in, right? And so he said, we live in these apartments about 4 blocks away or so. And I said, man, look, first of all, I'm going to have to tongue lash you before I say yes, okay? Because I want you to hear this. So you got your baby out here in 101 degree temperature, man. And there is no reason that you should come to the store unless it's for milk at this time of the day, and you don't have a ride to get back to where you came from without this baby being jeopardized from this heat. So I'm a little bit upset with you from that standpoint, from a human standpoint, but I also, my humanity, I'm going to give you a ride to your house though. So I said, tell her, yeah, y'all got a ride, man. I said, I don't have a car seat because there's no kids in my back seat or anything. So we'll work that out as y'all get in the car though. So they got in the car and they told me how to get to where they live. So I took them down the street, and as he's getting out, she gets out and they tell me thank you, and they get out of the car, and he turns to me and he says, I really appreciate this because I didn't know what we were going to do. I just knew we had to make it back home. But I said, at this point, you were going to have to walk because I don't think anybody was going to stop and offer you a ride. They don't know where you're going, and you're going down a sidewalk on the side of the street. So nobody's going to, unless you get an angel or some type, somebody's going to just stop and say, hey, do you need a ride? Because of the heat that's out here and they see your baby. But I said, man, you can't put your kid in that kind of position. I said, now, I noticed that you don't have any groceries. So y'all came to the store just to browse? He said, well, yeah, kind of. I said, but look at the time of day that you chose to do that. And so you got to think about your family, man, from a standpoint of you got to take care of them from a little bit. You thinking, well, if she wanted to come down here just to kind of get out of the house, then if y'all going to have to walk down here, you need to say, hey, well, let's wait till about a little bit later when it's a little cooler,
right.
We'll go ahead and walk down there, but we can't do it right now. But I'm willing to do that. I said, you have to explain it to where she gets the message to where it's not something that you pushing back against her just to be saying no, but you got to make her understand that she can't put your baby in that kind of position, man, because if the police have to show up for your baby on the side of the street having a stroke, it's not going to end well for you or her. So that's why I'm kind of upset with you from that standpoint, But I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. So I don't know if you need any money or not, man, but I'm going to give you $200. He said, no, you don't have to do that. I said, I want to give you some money, man. I said, do you need a car? He said, well, no, not really. I said, I tell you what, I'm going to give me your telephone. I'm going to have a friend of mine call you. He has a car lot, and I'm going to see if we can work something out to get you a vehicle, man. So, take this money and he'll call you. I say, I'm not going to, be involved in it unless I need to be, but I'm involved in it from the standpoint that he will do this for me. So we'll get you a car. When he calls you, answer your phone, and then y'all work it out. And so he ended up getting a car a week later. He did give him a car. And, but that's what giving and receiving will do, because you never know when you're going to be put in a position that you need to decide that you can or you will or are willing to do something. Because I could have easily told them no, and went on about my business and just drove on up in the parking lot and got out of my car and went on in the store like I didn't see them. But there was no way I could do that with a good heart, knowing that baby was put in that type of position, and it wasn't the baby's decision to be out in that heat. They had no water for it, and the 4-block walk in 101 degree temperature at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's not good. The baby would have been dehydrated by the time they got to the apartment. That's even if they would have made it that far. Right. I don't think they would have made it that far, because the baby was already, he was struggling trying to carry the baby, and they had like some type of carrier with them that he was carrying too, So he had the baby in one arm, the carrier in the other arm, and then she had a cup of ice, some type of Slurpee drink, right? But they wouldn't have made it those 4 blocks without having to have to stop every few feet, because it was so hot that there's no way that they could walk that distance without stopping. And then with the baby being directly in the heat with no cover of any type, it just wouldn't have ended good. So I wanted to throw that into this, because that's pouring back into you as well. So you are able to help somebody else at the time that they need you. So you have to bring yourself to a point to where when somebody's willing to give you something, you have to receive it at the moment, because whether you really need it or not. I know you want to be, at a level where you feel independent. And that's why a lot of people also don't accept things, because they feel like it takes away their independence some type of way, or it challenges what their thought of themselves of being independent is. But when you really need help, accept it. Because at that moment that you need it, that's where you are. It's not where you're going to stay, but at the moment that you need it, it's just where you are. And we all at some point will have walked through that level of, I need this for me at this point in time. It may not be as desperate as that situation was, but you will have a point to where you need to receive something from somebody. And so be willing and open that you don't owe them a debt. Don't feel guilty toward it. And be willing to accept it as not taking away your thought of being independent. You still all of those things, but accept the gift.
Right.
Now, spiritually, when you talk about that, That's conscious, right? So it's about acceptance. And as I said, both ladies already said before, worthiness. You have to be able to accept and feel worthy that you're receiving this because you are worthy of it. You need it, but you're worthy of receiving it at the same time. So you don't have any guilt about it. Okay? So that's what the spiritual aspect of it is. Now, the reason I could throw it in at the beginning of this, the Jesus God walking around the countryside with the women paying for the ministry to sustain itself is the same thing I just covered right there. Because if at that point, let's say Jesus God said to the women, well, you know what? I'm Jesus, the Son of God. Y'all don't know that right now, but that's who I am. And so we don't really need any money. Wherever we go, we'll be fine. But these women are living in the daily reality of material life. Okay, so they can't see that. They're like, oh, wait a minute, what is he talking about? We just gonna show up and knock on the door and they just gonna accept us? That's not gonna happen. Not in this countryside. These people gonna want money. They're gonna give us a donkey for free. So we got to pay for this stuff. So they got together and decided, no matter who you are, we like what you're saying, and we're gonna supply what we need to make this go. And that's what happened. So that's why you have to be able to also pour back into yourself, because as I said, that starts with self-love. Now, Jesus is referred to as a loving being, loving individual. Okay, all about love. But you have to be able to allow yourself to have others love on you too.
Sure.
Because here's the thing: if even today we have this ongoing imaginary battle between the men and women, you know, neither can come to a consensus of what you need to date them, or you can't date me because you don't do this or you won't do that. When you fully unconditionally love you, you don't have conditions tied to who you embrace with, because they are a reflection of that unconditional love that you have for you already. The material stuff, we're going through a phase right now in this world where we are right now. We're in the spiritual era, but it's a tech spiritual era. It's a combination of those two things. And what I've noticed, and we were talking backstage about this a little bit before we got on air, what I've noticed is a lot of people that have tapped into the spiritual aspect of life right now, they are tapping all the way in to where they're talking about, well, I'm going to shift to the 5D. I'm no longer a member of the 3D. I'm over here at the 5D, and it's all spirit. So what they've done is they're trying to escape the reality of the material side of this world. The spiritual and the material exist simultaneous. At the same time, you're living in both worlds. Now, if you're not tapped in, as Lady K said earlier, if you're not tapped into this, you don't understand that. You think that they're separate things. They're not. Look, anything that you do starts spiritually first. It comes from a spirit. Then you put it in a thought process, and then you envision it. You can see it. When you start to see it, now it starts to materialize. I need to throw this in there since I just stepped down that road right there, because this is something else that I'm sure you ladies have heard this said a lot too. You hear people saying, well, the veil is thinning. The veil is thinning. Well, guess what? Scientists are saying that dark matter is starting to thin out. Now, they don't know what's on the other side of dark matter. They just know that it's thinning. They don't know how long it's going to take for it to eventually thin to where you can see beyond what we can't see as humans right now, right? But that's the same thing. When people are saying the veil is thinning, they're talking about a level of spirituality. Now, when science is saying that dark matter is thinning, it's the same concept. Okay? And what that means for you is you're going to be able to eventually, and when that, who knows how long it's going to take for this to happen. Okay, we as bodies won't be around here to see it like that, and maybe we will, because we're spirits in the true form anyway. So maybe some of us will have come back, and because we got unfinished work with and see it. But what that means is that the things that animals see that we don't see. See, here's the thing that we disrespect animals in. We think they're just stupid, just walking around doing nothing kind of beings. They live a whole life in their own world just like we do.
Yes.
They
Yes.
see things that we don't see.
They do. They do.
And they get to look into our world too. We don't get that. We have no access to see what they get a chance to look at. They could be standing right beside us. So sometimes when you see a dog and he's looking past you, he's looking at something. they see something that you don't know. It has a presence there.
Right.
They see it though. They can see it. You just can't. Now, there are some of us who have had a chance to look on the other side and get a chance to experience that. And when we do, you don't get a chance to come back and say what you've seen because it's for you as an individual. See, myself and Lady J were talking a little bit about this, along with Tommy Thompson before backstage. But here's something. There are aspects of this life where you will be able to experience something that you don't think exists or that is possible, which we're still talking about what we're talking about here, the art of receiving and pouring back into yourself. You are shown something that everybody else is not going to be able to see. And the reason that you're doing that is because your journey here is an individual journey.
Yes.
See, we want to tie this into a group or collective where we all get to experience it. And so when we wake up, we all supposed to wake up and see whatever else is out there. That's not happening because you're on your own individual journey. As soon as you actually accept that, see, and this is something you don't even think about because you're too busy trying to be a part of the group. But your journey is personal. Nobody sees what you see out of your eyes. Nobody sees that. You share it, but nobody actually sees it the same way you do. So you're experiencing your own world every single day, a minute, hour, second. You're experiencing the world that you see, that you experience. Nobody else has that experience. Right. Now, you can talk to somebody else and share that moment with them and tell them, this is how I feel, or this is what I think, and this is what I see. But they don't get to experience it the same way you do because your journey is by yourself. It's individual. But religion has told you that it's about groupthink. It's about the group. It's not. It's individual. This is all single life. This is your journey here is all about what you think and see. Like the young man and his girlfriend that I gave the ride to, I couldn't see from their standpoint what they thought they saw. I just knew what I was looking at out of the window. That I knew it was hot. I knew it was 101 degrees outside, and to me it was hot. So all I could do is project that baby has to be feeling that heat. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I projected onto them as a unit. So I knew at that point that I needed to step in. If I could do something, do it, which is what I did. But see, the journey here is by yourself. So you're going to leave here by yourself because you came here by yourself. So you have to pour back into you in order to be grateful for anything that's going on. Because if you can't accept that spiritually, you have consciously accepted this world as you see it from your own eyesight, okay? If you can accept that, then everything else around you has no judgment attached to it. You accept it for what it is as it is without judgment. See, so that's why when I gave the young man the tongue lashing, it was because I was projecting my anger toward him for putting that baby in that position because the baby couldn't speak up for itself to where it could say, hey, wait a minute, it's a little hot out here. Don't you think that we need to do something different? This is not going to be good for me. But he couldn't tell them that. I'm sure, and he was crying. So I'm sure in that manner, the mother probably was feeling stress from it, which is probably why she suggested that he see if that guy will give us a ride. It was her suggestion because she looked at the car first. He was trying to avoid eye contact with me because he was looking every other way except at my car. She looked at the car 3 or 4 times as they were starting to get close to it. And it wasn't for the beauty of the car. She was looking at the car because it gave them something that they needed at that time, a ride. That's what they needed. And so she knew that. And so she was able to accept in her own way, in her own being. She said, look, I might not really want to do this. And I just got to hope that he's a nice guy. But I'm going to see if this guy will give us a ride.
Right.
And so she pushed him to ask. But it came from her because he did not want to do that. Because he wasn't willing to accept that I was probably willing to help him. But as
that's
a man,
the woman.
There you go. That's where I was about to go. That's where I was about to go. See, here's the thing. Men, all this is still part of the same topic we're talking about. But see, I told you we were going to go deep. So if you thought we were going to give you the surface level stuff, you could have found another station to find that on. But women and men carry the same traits, right? Feminine and masculine. The man has been taught to run from his feminine energy because at that point he's supposed to be too soft. Now we don't want men running around not being able to stand up and defend and that kind of thing. That's not what we're talking about. But you have to have empathy for people. You can't walk around and be what we call selfish or uncaring. You can't carry that because that's not what's in you naturally. You have to create that energy to stay in that negative state of mind to do that. And I just told you, acceptance about expectations create positive outcome. But if you thinking in the other direction, it creates negative outcome because you're now negatively impacting other people who may not even feel that way, but your negative energy now is pouring onto them saying, no, you know what? I don't think you're worthy of my help. I don't think much of you. Why are you in this position anyway? You know the kind of speech that people with judgment will try to give people when they're looking down on them. They'll try to give them a long speech about, well, why can't you already have this or you should already be able to do. They don't need that at that point in time. There's a point and a place for that, but that's not at the time that they come to you or be willing to ask you for something, right? Like today, for instance, I pulled up at a red light, for instance, today, and there's a guy on the corner with a dog. I was going to say something because I stopped at the red light. He was up across the street at another red light. So I was going to go up and turn around and come back. But as the light changed, the car next to me pulled up to the guy on the corner, holding up traffic in that lane. But he talked to this guy about how hot it was for that dog. You could see the dog struggling. It was hot. It had nothing, no cover on, nothing to cover it up with to keep it cool. It was panting, so it was hot. So the guy in the other lane saw that, and evidently he likes animals, and so he pulled over and was talking to this guy. I guess they I didn't go back at that point in time. I seen that somebody else was willing to step up and do that, so I went ahead and went on about my way. It wasn't for me to be at that point. It was somebody else's thing to do. But he had pulled over and was holding, and nobody behind him was blowing a horn at him saying, "Hey, you holding up traffic?" They could see what he was doing. So people, as I went on up, you could start seeing people go around him, because they did not want to interfere with what he was doing there, because they knew that they may not have had the courage to stop and do that, but he did. So they were going to allow him to step in and do whatever he was offering there for the dog and the man, right? But sometimes you have to be able to be uncomfortable to be comfortable. And if you can't, do that, then there's not much you can do in this world anyway while you're here, because at some point you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in order for you to take up space at the next level. I mentioned that part about where some people are running away from this level, saying they're in the 5D now. By the time we get to the 5D level on a consistent basis, because we're in a shift, but this shift may take anywhere from 100 to 1,000 years to complete. But we're in an era, because we have so much technology, that it could happen within 3 to 5 years too. That's why you're seeing all these old systems struggling to try to hold on to their space, because we're not in the days of where word travels slowly and maybe 5 years down the line, somebody just now getting the message that things have changed. No, this is happening immediately. So we're going to see the transition happen real fast. The people that are not prepared for that, they're going to get left behind, because the world is going to shift into this new era where everything is going to be spiritual and technology. And if you're not able to tap into your spiritual side, I didn't say religion, but if that's what works for you, it works for you. But you're going to have to tap into it. Now, the only reason that the thing that separates spiritual from religion is dogma. Spiritualism doesn't have any dogma attached to it. Religion has the dogma, and that traps you. So that's the only real difference between them, actually. But you know, when you get dogma involved, now you get the separation, and you got all these individuals and people and all this other stuff going on that separates you from where you need to really be going.
Mm-hmm.
So when you pour back into yourself, you have to be open to the process of going through and accepting others' generosity. So now, to eliminate psychologically the emotion of guilt or independent of you thinking that somebody's trying to take away your independence by offering you the help, that's a psychological aspect of this, because you have to be mindful, as I mentioned at the top of it, Lady J's favorite word, be mindful, mindfulness. You have to be mindful in order to accept that, because that's your gift. That's the gift of receiving. If you accept your gift, that doesn't bother you. You say, thank you, I'm grateful to you, and I have gratitude towards you, seeing that I'm, you know, in a plight or situation where I could use that help, and I thank you for being able to, because sometimes people won't even ask for help and they need it.
True.
Because they feel like some type of way it makes them feel inferior, because we live in such a materialistic world that they don't feel like, I can't ask that person for this. No, I can't do that. And so they won't accept the help or even speak up that they need it. But if you come to them and you tell them, look, I'm not pushing this on you, but just take it as part of it'll just make me feel good or better about me meeting you at this point. I can help you, so I'm going to. I'm not going to miss whatever this is I'm going to give. I'm not going to miss that. I'm willing to help you. And so be willing to and open enough to be able to accept that. If you can do that, then everything else works out for you. I covered the psychological aspect of it. I cut the psychological a little bit shorter, but it's basically you being able to accept and not resist receiving help. And then remember what I said, your doubt or not wanting to accept help comes from some point in your childhood that you are carrying around with you as a wound of some place in time. You needed some help and somebody told you no.
No.
And so you feel like you should never ask for help again. And it may have even been a parent that said it to you. I don't know, but only you know that. But you have to go back and repair that mentally. Go back and repair that. It's okay. Once you do that, the world is going to open up to you and you can see more opportunity and have more opportunities for yourself at that point in time. We're in a tough time in this world right now because everything is shifting and the economies are bad. People are losing jobs, getting laid off, and we got all this other political junk going on. But you need to be able to receive in order to get through this. That way, if you do get laid off at your job or something of that effect, somebody else that you may not even have direct contact with, but maybe one of your friends have access to, can mention, hey, I got this friend that they just got laid off, and I'd like to help them. If you guys, y'all doing something at your place of business, or maybe another business is doing something I could tell them about, and there you go. So you're tied into where you can be restored, but that only can come if you are able to receive. And if you're not able to receive anything, then you can't be helped. No matter how you may say that I want to manifest it, but manifesting comes through being able to receive. Even if you pray, if that's what your bottom line is, I'm going to pray for it, you still have to be open to receiving it because they are the same thing as well. So you have to be open to that. I want to share one more thing with you before I bring the ladies back in here, because we've covered a lot in this, but the art of receiving and pouring back into yourself, right? Now, I wrote an article a few weeks ago talking about Noah's Ark. And the reason I want to put this into this because it's fitting for it. Now, most people only know Noah's Ark story from just the glossary part of it. Noah built this ark, saved animals, saved mankind and restarted the population. And that's the gloss over part of it that because you haven't really read the story. Okay, now here's the thing about this story. Noah was 500 years old, according to the story in the Bible. 500. I said that 500 years old. Okay. And he had just had his sons at the age of 500 years old. Now, it took him 100 years to build the ark. Okay. Now, some people just missed that again. I just said Noah was 500 years old when he started building the ark, when he was chosen to build the ark. It took him 100 years to finish the ark. Now, most people have never done the math on something like that. So the story just goes right over their head. They just hear the story and like, hey, Noah did it. Look at that. He built that big boat, man. He had God's help. And really, 100 years is a century. Sure. 1 century. If Noah was 500 years old when he started, his sons didn't even live long enough to see the ark get finished, because we're talking about 100 years.
Right.
See, so when you do the math on this, you see that there's no way that you know, you got it. You got it. You understand where I'm going. You know what I'm talking about. And on the day that it actually started to rain, Noah couldn't even close the door to the ark. He couldn't close the door to the ark. So the door was closed from the outside by, Noah said he heard footsteps. So he assumed that it was God closing the door to the ark. That's all he said. He heard, he didn't pull the door. The story doesn't say he pulled the door. He said God closed the door from the outside. He could hear footsteps on the outside of the boat pushing the door, walking and pushing the door. Okay? So what I'm saying to tie this in is Noah received, and he also poured into himself there. Now, why he was chosen, the story gets deep. So you have to actually read the story to really get the depth of it, okay? But I just want to take you into that story, because most people who speak about Noah and the ark only know about the glossary part of it and have never actually done the real reading. And the Bible itself, it'll tell you that the math just is fuzzy math. It just doesn't work. No, and a 500-year-old man that's capable of building a boat that size would have to be somebody very unique, that we would still be talking about in detail today. With how was he able to do such a thing by himself? No help, by himself.
Right.
So when we're talking about pouring back into yourself, be accepting and unconditionally loving of you first. If you can do that, everything else aligns and starts to be put in a flow state for you. Okay? When we talk about flow state, we're talking about, it seems like everything just happens for you with an ease, but you're aligned with the frequency where it can happen to you. Because remember what I just said. People are trying to, they're living in both sides simultaneous, but if you never tap into the spiritual aspect of life, you don't understand that part of your life is happening at this very same time. So that's why you're able to move back in time and so forth, but you have to be tapped in to be able to see this stuff. If you're not, you don't even think it exists. You say, well, there's nothing to that. There's nothing, that's nothing to, no, I don't believe that. But look, we're talking about something like this. I just told you expectations, which you cannot see, but you can feel it from somebody else. You feel that energy, and if you feel like they accept you for who you are and they have big expectations for you, tell you they think that you're capable of doing what you're doing, you can feel that. You don't see it, but you feel it. And that's when you start to hit your stride and say, I can do this. I can prepare myself for this, and I can make this happen. That's what allows you to be able to pull it off. That's why people think you lucky. I told a story about me saying that at one point in my life, everything would happen, and I would say it was luck. But it really wasn't luck. I was actually always tied in with alignment on that frequency where I believed that everything was possible. That's what expectations does for you. That's what spirituality does for you. It opens you up to all the possibilities. That's why you see nothing but possibilities for things to happen. You don't see the impossible. You see possibilities. You just have to figure out which road is the one that's going to take you down that possibility and be willing to walk toward that. If you walk toward it, now you'll start to see 5, 6, 7, 8 different roads open up of many possibilities that this could happen for you. That's what allows you to tap into it. That's when it starts to happen for you. But you have to be into your spiritual side in order to do that. That's all I'm telling you. You have to be tapped into that. And if you tap into it today, while we're in the early stages of this era, it will open your eyes to be able to see things that you think are not possible for you. So you want a better job, or want a new job, or want more things, so per se, you have to be tapped in to be able to do that. You have to be. Otherwise, it can't happen for you. So the art of receiving and pouring back into you is not difficult, but you have to make stages and steps in order to align yourself with the possibilities of this happening. That's what Karen was telling you in the title of it, is there's an art to it. And I told you what the secret to that art was, mindfulness, of Lady J's words. If you tap into your natural gift that you have for it, the rest of it can happen for you. But you have to believe that it's possible. You have to believe. Okay, ladies, I'm ready to let's talk about it.
Welcome, welcome, Dr. Marcia. Thank you for being here. Well,
Yes.
thank you for that, giving us a full overview. You know, you served us well because and that's what we said in the intro, that we go deep,
Yes.
we
Always.
uncover so that people can understand, not just gliding over,
Right.
receiving and pouring back into. Yeah, that's a good way to do it, but it makes you think, what can I do? How do I
Mhm.
receive? When do I say no? Do I say yes? And if I'm going through something and someone offers to me, it's not putting me less, it's not taking away my level of independence, but it's helping me to stand stronger because
Absolutely.
I'm the need for the help is given to me at that point in time when I so need it. You
Uh-huh.
know, I mean, thank you for sharing that story with it. You because you're so in tune, because you have the level of discernment that as you rightfully speaking about tapping in, you are
Yes.
able to tap in and tune in to let the family, the kid and the
Yeah.
father and the wife, you were tapped in so strong that you knew exactly when they were walking towards you what that moment was. So
Exactly.
you were just waiting for the timing to unfold right before your eyes.
Right
You were
before me. Exactly.
experiencing something so beautiful because you knew it. Right? Nobody had to tell you. You don't have to assume
No.
it. You had the level of this. You have the level of discernment, so you knew exactly what's going to unfold in the moment, and you
Exactly.
did it so beautiful. You listened to your inner self. You worked with your higher self, and you just did what you knew that is the right thing to do, right? And you
Right.
just their lives will never be the same because you were able to exchange the
Right.
giving, and not only exchange your giving, you even went one step further because you link him up to someone else of a connection of yours to get a vehicle. So
Right.
that is what giving and receiving is, because we don't stop there. From the time you as you write as we craft the word the art, as you start to take the art of just the action, right?
Right.
So many things unfold after that. There is
Mm-hmm.
where the beauty is.
You got it. You got it. Yeah, I could have said that better than that. You're absolutely right. You have to. You have. You know, as you just mentioned there. Once you get access to it, then you have to take action to make it happen. So you just can't just speak it and then think that, okay, I'll wait around here and maybe it'll show up, tomorrow or something.
No,
Once you start the steps, it'll start to meet you. We talk about this all the time. It'll come back to you, people, places, things. It'll open up, but you have
it's
to start the
amazing,
action. But yeah,
right?
it actually is. It's amazing to see it. But if you can't see it, if you're just sitting still, you just say it as an affirmation, and that's all you're going to do is just affirm it. You have to actually start the process. And it may not be big steps you have to take because you may not have access to take those big
Right,
steps, but take the baby steps and watch and see those things start to open up for you. It'll start coming back to you. And you'll start meeting people. People will pop up into your life that you may not even know to say, hey, I could use some help with this, or maybe I
Right,
could,
right.
yeah, that some kind of way it'll happen for you. But you have to, as Lady J just said, you have to take the steps to start the action to back it
Yeah,
up and support it. Go ahead.
that is so true because I don't want to say I think, but I know that
You know.
uh, as you take the inspired action,
Mm-hmm.
you unlock as you're speaking about, there's endless possibilities, but you
Absolutely.
have to take that inspired action so that as that to unlock, so that the greater things that the universe, life has to offer you will flow. And I
Right.
like when you went into flow state, because flow state is the level of, as you spoke of, the alignment. There is where the possibilities flow towards you, because you're moving on a different
You
trajectory.
move.
Your
Absolutely.
vibration, your frequency, everything is on a different level. That is why it is so important, as we speak on the show. You got to forgive, you got to let go, you got to let the baggage go, because you don't want those kind of blockage to continue to hinder your greatness to come towards you.
That's good. That is very good. You know,
Thank you.
you know something, Lady J. I'm gonna put something that add something to that, because as you start to take those steps, your she just said the old way starts to fade away, and that's true because your old patterns will start to disappear because you're going to replace them with new patterns, and as those new patterns will start to get imprinted, guess what? Your whole life will start to change. But you
True.
have to replace the old patterns though. And the only way you can do that is by taking those steps. But once
Hmm.
you start taking those steps, we were talking about this a little bit before we went on air too, Lady J.
Yes.
As far as losing people out of your life, because that's part of it. Because as you start to put new patterns in place, old patterns drop away.
Hmm.
They drop away. Those are the people that you're losing because your patterns are being replaced by new ones. The same thing happens in your memory too. Mentally, you replace the old familiar thoughts that you have with new ones. And as those new ones start to be accepted as these are possibilities and I feel safe with them, guess what? Your old memories will start to fade because you're replacing them in your software. You're starting to replace them with newer software. And as you do that, things will happen for you differently because you're not stuck in a pattern that's outdated for you at this point. You moved into a new you, but you can't do that if you're still carrying around the old you. That's dead weight. You got to lose that dead weight and become the new you. Once you do that, life opens up for you.
Does. It certainly does. You I like how you express all of that. And now we're gonna have Dr. Marcia jump in and
Yes,
talk to
it's
us about the art of receiving and pouring back, because we know that she's a woman of wisdom, she's a woman of inspiration, she's a woman of guidance, she's a woman that when she leaves spaces like Will, myself, and Karen, the space is enriched. Dr. Marcia?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Good night. Where I am in Jamaica,
Welcome,
I'm
welcome,
having
welcome.
a little time, so the time zone is a little different, and
yes.
my equipment is also a little different, and so it's not my familiar equipment, and so I had a hard time getting on. But I'm happy to be here and
You're
joining the
here.
discussion, and I love the way it started, and I also love the things that Will has presented, especially on the spiritual side, because as you know, I'm a spiritual consultant and coach. I'm a Christian leadership coach. I deal with women 40 plus who are leaders or executives in their organization, but are Christians in themselves. Because I do believe that as a Christian leader and executive, my job becomes a little harder because the expectation is a little different,
Mhm.
Right.
because the expectation is more eternal
Mhm.
than just on the surface here, because we're going to have to give an account of the path and the purpose that God gave to us. And that art of discovering is really through tapping into the spiritual side
Mhm.
of you. We are spiritual beings. And whether we believe it or not, we are spiritual beings. We are created in the image of God, and we are given a pathway that we must follow. And we cannot do what was given to someone else. And in that spirit, in my program, which I call a Lifted Leader program, I talk about ownership and stewardship because that is where the difference lies when you want to receive and pour into yourself. We believe that we are owners, but we are not. Our eyes were linked to us, our hands were linked to us, our feet were linked to us for an expected time. For those who care well and understand ownership, you have 70 and 10 by reason of your strength. That is what God says He gives to those of us who understand the difference between ownership and stewardship. If you see the pathway as one that is a stewardship pathway, then you know that you are just passing through. And you understand the importance of leaving a legacy. The problem is that we focus more on the ownership of the things we acquire through the strength and grace and mercy that has been given to us by God. Because at any moment, if He takes the oxygen, then something goes wrong. At any moment, if He takes the oxygen, so even our lives, as I mentioned it, is really linked to us. How do we tie that into receiving and pouring into ourselves? It is clear that we cannot pour from an empty cup. God expects us to build on those skills, natural skills and talents that He has given to us. And He even says in Proverbs that it must sustain us. So whatever we need to keep us in this life, to build, to create, to inhabit the space that is lent to us, it must come from our gifts and our talents, which simply means that we have to pour into ourselves. We have to fill our body, we have to fill our mind, we have to fill our spirit, and we have to fill our heart. Why is it so important? Your spirit does what your mind tells you to do. If your mind and spirit is in unison, then your heart follows. And your mind and your heart and your spirit dictates what your body does. And so that is why God says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you feel you're empty, then you fortify that in your spirit. And your spirit speaks to your heart. And your body feels that I can't go any further. And I'm doing it very slowly because I want us to understand.
Yeah.
You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot burn yourself out. You cannot give what you don't have. And you cannot sacrifice yourself for yourself, because it would not be a sacrifice. It would be suicide.
Right.
And so we want to understand that for us to risk, to give, to pour out, we have to pour into ourselves. God gave a very perfect example of that with Mary and Martha. And Martha was so busy doing all sorts of things in her house, and she complained that she's the only one doing those temporal things. And God said, because Mary sat at his feet, God says Mary has chosen the good part, because Mary has chosen to do it right. You have to pour into yourself to pour out. It's not automatic, and it is not a checklist. It is an art, and that's why I'm so happy that you call it an art. It is something that you have to consciously and intentionally practice, especially if you're a mother. Because a mother feels guilty serving herself first.
Mm-hmm.
Except maybe when she's on the plane and the plane is about to crash, where you have to put on that oxygen thing so you can actually save your child. Those things become automatic. But the culture is that for you to be loved, you must serve and you must never be tired, especially if you're a mother. But a mother needs to take time for him or herself. And a mother needs to know when she's to stop being a martyr for her child and be a steward. Steward his resources, steward his gifts, steward his talent. What do we do? How do we do that? We make the child become resilient. So there are some of us who constantly rush to tie the shoelace of the child. But we can stand from where we are and we can say to the child, this is how you do it. Do it this way, go that step 2, step 3. And that is why we become oppressive and very clingy to some of our children, because when they're at a certain age, they say, I want to do it myself. Hear you. No, you can't. I have to help you. That is why I'm a mother. You will be able to do it much later. But the child is at that stage saying, teach me what I am to do. It's not going to kill the child, it's not, but you are going to feel helpless. You're going to feel guilty, and you're going to feel that, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm not to teach a child to swim. I must always have the child on my back, and I must be in the water swimming. But you can't teach a child to swim on land. The child has to go into the water, and it requires that amount of practice, because the child is already at 1 or 2. We call it the terrible 2, because the child's body and mind and spirit and heart is already filled. What we do is that we pull that gap. We begin to make our children leak when we're always there for them, pouring into them and not into ourselves. And some children begin to resent parents who do that, and some children develop an entitlement mentality where you can't shake, because you expect that miraculously, after you have been there, done that, and has not given a child even a moment to breathe, that the child at 15 must know, has become a big boy. You have to now learn. I can't keep carrying you, and the child becomes resentful because the child doesn't know what to do, because you kept carrying the child, pouring into him constantly, even on the times when you don't have to. So I've covered mother. There are wives who pour into husbands, do everything for them. If the wife gets sick or leave for a weekend, the man can only boil eggs, and he might just burn that egg, the boiled egg. Don't know how it's possible, but some men don't learn to do anything, because wives are always there picking up their ties, picking up their this, picking up their that, doing all sorts of things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Good.
Yeah,
So
very clear.
let us look at pouring, receiving. When you receive, you have to be intentional. So you have to receive those things that add value to your life. So we are not talking about just receiving, saying thanks. We must, if we are really and truly receiving, we are receiving those things that add value to our lives. And we are saying no thank you to those things that do not work for us. So receiving doesn't mean that every good gift I receive, we must search for the God gifts, because the good gifts are not always the God gifts.
Wow.
And because it is lawful, it is not always right for you. So I want to put that out there. And some of us believe that opportunities are coming and we must receive them. But if you see yourself as a steward, and you know your gifts, your talents, and you know what your purpose is, because it's very clear, the things that you're good at and the things that give you joy and reward you and make people feel fulfilled and add value to their lives is your purpose. Those things that you do naturally, regardless of your capacity or your 9 to 5, the things that they ask you to do at your job that is not even a part of your job description, that serves people and add value, are some of the ways you begin to understand your gifts. Now, when you put all of those gifts together, you can't receive everything and fill up your basket. You have to say no to some things, because they will distract you from receiving. You will now take on burdens and baggages on yourself because you are receiving. So the first thing I want us to understand in receiving is that we are to identify good gifts and God-given gifts, because that's very different.
True.
Good gifts can actually waste your time and put you on a detour from the path that you're supposed to be on. But God gifts challenge you. It gives you a channel to where you ought to be going. And so receiving must be categorized, and receiving must be intentional, and you must receive with discernment. Because every good gift and every perfect gift comes from God. That's the first thing. The next thing about receiving for me, is that when you receive, you must test. You must notice the gift. And you must drop the I don't deserve it, because God gives you a miraculous or spectacular gift because he wants to accelerate your purpose. So some of us get very good gifts. Our desire, our purpose is to always serve people in the capacity of protection, building their cars, making sure the cars are good. So you might just be a mechanic, or you might be someone who want to be an attendant to make sure they get the right gas. So you know you want to work at a gas station. Somebody says, out of the blue. I ran this for 20 years, and I see you, I realize that you have a good knack for this, and I want you to take over. And you say, no, I'm not your child. How would your children feel? And all of those things. You must receive, you must notice the gift, and you must remove that I don't deserve it script from your mind. Because receiving must be selfish. And I want to put that out there. Receiving must be selfish. Shocking, but receiving must be selfish. You must receive only those things that will add value. So you must be selfish in your receiving. You're not to be open to receive from all and everybody.
Wow.
True. So true.
No, some of us also in receiving says, okay, it's nothing. I needed that, but it's nothing. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that it lands in your body. It lands in your mind, it lands in your spirit, and it lands on your heart. If all of those are not filled with the gift, then it is not a good gift. It's not a God gift. It's neither a good gift nor a God gift, because a good gift resonates with your mind and with your body, what you're seeing, but a God gift resonates with all four, but gives you this nagging feeling that for some reason you must get going. You must get going. So you want to put that in perspective. And I'm moving quite slowly because I want us to understand the art of receiving. So it can be nothing. And you must notice the gift. And it can't be that I don't deserve it. Because the receiving, you are given it because you receive it, whether by the universe or by God. We want to understand that. Then we want to look at receiving this gift from God first. And that's where I merge with Will completely. We understand that God says, I am the giver of all of your gifts of your life. I give you your eyes, it's not your parents, really. I give you your feet, you didn't pay anything for them. So receiving is already a gift that has been given to us. God has put provisions out there for us to receive, and he has put processes in place for us to receive it. And if we look at Joseph, if we look at Moses, if we look at all those examples, at different points, the destiny helpers presented themselves, because God always prepares the path for you to receive. And whether you're a mother, God prepares the path for you to receive. If you're an executive, you're a leader, if you are, whatever frame you're in, God established your purpose. And once you press into your purpose, you know your purpose, you understand your purpose, and you begin to live your purpose, then receiving becomes the natural response and result of your purpose. Now, how do I pour back into myself after I keep receiving, after I understand receiving, and so on? I pour back into myself by being a steward, caring well. So whatever I'm receiving, whether it is mentally, spiritually, financially, or otherwise, I am caring it well. So an owner cares, but a steward cares well. So I'm now beginning to pour into myself. I care my body, because that is the greatest honor I can give to God. I free my mind so I can pour out properly. I keep malice, bitterness, unforgiveness, correction of a record of wrongs and all of those. I keep that out of my frame of mind when I'm pouring out, because pouring out has nothing to do with anyone. It has to do with me and God. Because it is what I have received that I am now giving. And I have received from God as the primary source. My gifts already, my talents already, my destiny helpers, my purpose, my framework, the path that I am to be on, I have received by God. How do I embrace that? By faith. And faith, without faith, it is impossible to please him. Now, faith is really the evidence of things not seen. It's what you hope for. Good. And so in receiving and giving out, faith must be active. We must have faith to receive, and we must have faith to pour out. And the faith that we have to pour out must be that I am being given this mandate, I must serve even those who are ungrateful, even those who are unkind, even those who don't want me to help them. I am sent to them. I must understand that. So I don't expect that in my receiving, I can't do it if I'm not praised. I can't do it if I'm not appreciated. I can't do it if I don't get an achievement or an award. I can't do it because that would make you an owner and not a steward. And we want to understand in the receiving and giving that we make those mistakes all the time because we expect to get that type of reward from those who we are
Yes.
sent to, but we have already received the reward from Christ. Because he is paying it forward.
So
Whatever we receive and pour out goes to our generation. And many of us mar our generation because we pause to receive accolades and we stop doing what we are mandated to do after we have received. We stop pouring out because who we are pouring it to is who we want the praise and applause from. I know I've taken it on a different level.
No.
But pouring back into yourself is intentionally refilling your purpose. It's intentionally nurturing yourself, your body, your mind, and your spirit, so that you can carry the hard task of fulfilling your purpose. Because your purpose is not clear cut. You are not sent to those who already have that need and can feel the need. You are sent to the lost sheep. You're sent to the person who needs your support. You're sent to the person who needs to understand their destiny and who need to test themselves to see what they can produce. That is why you build a legacy. For me, legacy is discipleship. You equip persons to be themselves, to live their lives comfortably, and they call your name. And so a lot of times we have a difficulty receiving, especially as mothers, as executives, as leaders, as caregivers, because we put our capacity with the output. And God has already given the up capacity and has already decided what the output is. We just have to fulfill the output. We can't help God with that. He has already said, okay, this is the beginning and this is the end.
Right.
This is where we're going to be. I've never heard anybody on their dying bed say that, I wish I got another trophy. Has anyone of you heard them say that? I've never heard anybody on their deathbed say, I wish I had bought a BMW. Have you ever heard? I have not, but you might have. I have heard person on their deathbed say, I wish I had more time. And if I had my life to live over, I would become a nurse. That's what I found myself inclined to do. I would not have opened a business because they get the reality that they were not receiving and pouring out in the persons that they were supposed to be in out to, because they accepted what was normal and didn't go up beyond what is really expected, the stewardship level. They became owners and they secured what they have, and they fought to keep it going, and they did everything to control themselves, and they burned out so they could pay their bills and they could do that. But as a steward, they would not have sat in that 9 to 5 if they really looked at the stewardship, look at the gifts and the talents, and look at the part in which they are being led by these persons who need the services that they are not doing in their 9 to 5, and constantly give it to them, and who ask them and they give it free. So that part became a little blurred because they accepted the norm. So they tied their identity to their output, and they actually feared what was underneath, because they feared what was underneath, because in their mind, if they start doing what they love and what brings joy to other people and fulfillment to them, they won't be able to pay their bills. And that has no model, Faith has no model. Faith is a feeling. Faith is an urge. It is a conscious choice that you make to believe that something that you desire is out there. And so the cost of refusing is that you constantly receive and you can never pour out because you always have a need. So let us reframe it. If we want to reframe it, we want to look at the art of receiving and pouring in yourself means that you honor yourself in such a way that you choose those things, what you want to put in, and you pour out those things that you don't need. It's very, really simple. You are very intentional and discerning about what you put in, what you take in, and you are very intentional and discerning in what you are giving out. What is it that you don't need? And that's it.
It's good. It's good.
Dr. Marcia, you really went below the surface.
Yes.
You have touched on some real key pointers here. I just I hope people listen to exactly what, because your message was profound. It's very, very profound. And it's not often that we get these type of messages that is so profound. And this space this evening created that for the wisdom to flow and for us to deliver. Because everything mentioned in this space tonight, somebody needs to hear. Persons need this message, very important message. So we all that is here this evening. We do life and we are taking life for granted, and we're not realizing that there are different components that comes along with life. Dr. Marcy pointed out some real good pointers here this evening, some real good nuggets pointed out this evening. It's to really to help us understand with giving and receiving and pouring back into yourself. Because we are not paying attention to what we're doing. We're just absolutely not paying attention. And because we're not paying attention, many times things are just by. It's just passing us by. And we're not looking at the whole, the mind, body, spirit, as Dr. Marcy was talking about that just now. The mind, the body, the spirit. We're not looking at that. We are so clouded with so many things, and we're not paying attention to what truly matters in our lives. We highly suggest going into the week, pause, look at yourself, look at how you're receiving what you're receiving and how you're receiving it. It's many things in our lives that we need a message, but we are not willing to accept what is being said to us. Like when Dr. Marcy was speaking, I wrote something down here, you know. Listening is an art. How many times are we listening to our intuition or a higher self? Because many times we doubt ourselves. We doubt ourselves so many times. This can't be true. Because I have experienced that in my life. Sometimes things pop up pop up. Your intuition is telling you something, but you're not paying attention. Then somebody would show up in your life and giving you that same message, but are you receiving it? Are you receiving it? Are you self-aware of what's happening? Because many times we are not self-aware of what's happening. And because of that, a lot of times things happen in our lives. Don't allow this evening to pass, or whatever part of the world you're in right now, without paying attention to the message that you're getting this evening. These are messages for an individual. Whatever crossroad you are at a point in time in your life, these are messages that is being delivered to you as an individual. Sit with it, process it. Because many times we don't understand at this point in time, or at this moment, we do not understand, and we judge what we do not understand. Do not judge. Sit with it. Look all areas in life. What you are receiving, if it's good for you or if it's not good for you. As Dr. Marcia said in her message this evening, many times we are collecting stuff and it's not good for us. So we gotta mention in the opening statement, we all get the spirit of discernment. Good for you. When people show up in your life and even to offer to give you things, you have to have that spirit of discernment to understand if this person is doing this thing out of goodwill or if they're doing this thing with an intention. Because many times people do things with intentions. But once you have that spirit of discernment, you're able to say, you know what? No, thank you. So this evening, this topic was so profound. And it could have come at a better time like this. It could not have come into a better time like this, because a lot of people need to hear about this.
Absolutely.
A lot of people need to hear this. Because we are moving through, we are depleted. Like I was talking about the balloon, your air just keep going out all the time. You're pouring into people, you're pouring into spaces. What are you doing for you? What are you doing for you as an individual? You're not pouring back into yourself. You keep pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring. And when you're doing that, you gotta look at yourself. Because maybe there is a void that you have in your life. So when you're doing things like that, you gotta look at yourself and ask yourself, what am I doing for me? Where am I lacking in my life that I need to pour back into me? So pay attention as you move through this week. Pause. Pay attention. Mind, body, spirit. Pay attention what you're doing. It's holistic. It's all of you. Because you got to remember, this is a whole system. It's a whole system. Each part is dependent on each other. So when you pour in, you got to know where you're pouring. You got to know how you're receiving. You really got to know what you're doing. So this evening was, this was really special. This was a treat. This was a treat. It was a special treat. And Dr. Marcia, you came in at the perfect time to you deliver a profound message as well. but I'm going to save what I have to say at the end, and I'm going to toss the mic now to Lady J. Lady J, take the mic.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. First of all, I'm going to put both of you, Dr. Marcia and Dr. Will, on the spot. And, well, maybe you are a doctor too, in
Yes.
your own right, right?
Am I all right? Yes.
And because you manage in so many different levels. But what we're asking you is to, for both of you, that if next week is good for you, I know this is impromptu and we just put you on the spot, that we can continue this discussion for part two, right?
Okay.
Because it is so profound, and I would even take it a step further. I would say it's an early Thanksgiving speaking, because what you both have done so profoundly, so intellectually, so motivationally, so transformatively too, because there is transformation in that.
Mhm.
That is what you've done, because Will coming with his perspective, Dr. Marcy coming with her perspective, both
We
Lady
did.
K and I share our perspective. And that is what makes this space so interesting.
Mhm.
Because when you have a collective or a collection of different perspectives that is solid, that is strong, there is more value in this space, right?
Exactly.
So when you leave this space or you revisit and replay, you got solid information to carry you through living on your daily lives, your daily living.
Mhm.
Because when Karen and I decide to put this topic together, it's actually downloads that come in, because that's how we move and that's how we roll.
Mhm.
And when we create this topic and when we put this is going to be the topic, we felt a strong sensation in our feelings that this is the right timing, divine timing for a subject like this to be discussed. We are in the 8th month, right?
Mhm.
And we all are trying to navigate, well, who are we constantly becoming? Where are we at? What are we doing? Are we
Right.
focusing our energy right? Are we doing too much? Are we overthinking? Are we overgiving? Are we all in the all overdrive? Are we doing too much? Right? And what this discussion tonight is a reset, right? Is a reset that one would think when Dr. Marcy went into must be intentional. What are you taking in? What are you putting out? Where are you allotting your time? And if somebody gives you something, which she brought in the good analogy, like somebody in running a gas station, and he may say, well, I see something in you. You might not be my blood, but you work in here, and I see something in you, and I may want to. I think that I'm of age. I've done. I want to live out my life enjoying other things than this. But I see something in you that you can carry this forward. And because I notice it, I pay attention. So I'm giving it to you. Don't I mean, that's one analogy, but what Dr. Marcy is saying, there are so many other different things that people could notice something in you. And it mightn't be relative, it mightn't be no blood of anything, but they notice it and they say, you know what? I can pass this to you because I can be, when she talk about stewardship, right? I can trust it with you because I know that what you have within you, you can move it forward. You can help
Mhm.
to continue the legacy, right? You're honoring where you are, but you are elevating it to someone else that can move it forward. And so that is why this is, and you also mentioned about, so that we should reframe how we think about giving and receiving. We should really reframe it, because it's not, as Will said in the opening, it's not just as a surface level, okay, I give you, you give me.
Yeah.
It's not, it's that, but it's deeper than that. That's why we said we go in depth, right? It's a new model, it's a new blueprint, what both Will and Dr. Marcy outline and give us an overview tonight. It's not just being surface. You got to go dive deeper, because in order for us to move into the level of wholeness, then we got to be intentional. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be intentional. What are we bringing in that's going to elevate us to a level of more value? And what are we pouring out to other places, which is giving a lot of value to elsewhere? And what we saying no to,
Yeah.
because as she mentioned, they're good gifts and they're God gifts, right? I never thought about it in that context, right?
Right.
Good gift and God gift. The God gift is everlasting, right? Because it's advancing you forward. But they are the good gifts. And so you have to have a level of discernment. And that is why she touched on body, mind, and soul. You got to feel it in your spirit. You got to feel it in your being. When that gift rolls in and that gift comes in, you know to yourself, right? You have a sense of knowing, because it's touching, as Lady K talk about holistically. It's touching your mind, your body, and spirit, right?
Right.
So as it touch you in such a deep level, deep to your core, I think that's the core takeaway, really. As it touch you so deeply, you know in yourself that you know that I am meant for more, right? I might be doing a 9 to 5 or 8 to whatever is it you're doing, but you got to know this is not all there is.
No.
There is more for me, that I can move on the level of elevation, right? I can move on a different trajectory because I am meant for more. I'm enough. I don't have to settle here, right? You move through all the fear, all the rejection, all the no's, because that is a sense of redirection for you, right? You don't have to sit. You don't have to settle. You don't have to shrink. You can stand tall and speak to yourself, because, Will, as you spoke, and you know I love to speak about it. I am. I am strong. I am capable. I am confident. And when you say these things, don't say that I am strong. No, you gotta say it with that profoundness, that level of
Absolutely.
feeling, that it must follow a level of emotion, because that is what you are embodying.
Mhm.
I am capable. I am strong. I am enough. And the list goes, because whatever follow your I am, that is who you become.
That's who you're gonna become.
So you have to be strong about it. So as we talk about, we already said that we asking you both to return for part two,
I'm in.
because yeah, thank you so much. I mean that is how your life blossom.
Yes.
And that, as we have the program that called Bloom Again, which is tea talk and transformation ecosystem. That's how you blossom. That's how you bloom, because now you're moving more with more in you're moving with intentionality. You know what is a good gift for you, and you know what is not a good gift for you. You know what not to receive and what not to receive. And because you moving with such a precision, right? So you know I am in alignment. This is where I am moving forward. I'm in 2026. This is the junction I'm at, where I'm at. So you pause, you move in a level of discernment, be very specific, moving in intentionality, and you're looking at what am I called to steward? My stewardship, right? What is my stewardship in this moment? Where am I called to? Am I embracing my purpose within? What's my why? And when you can go down the list and able, because you're moving with strictly intention right now, you're seriously, you're drowning out all the noise, you're not taking all the clutter. And Will, you spoke about sometimes as we redesign and as we reframe our new purpose, sometimes people will fall off. And it's not a bad thing that people
No.
move, because we all are bio individuality, in the
Mhm.
bio individuality, and we all are moving in our own journey, our own purpose, our own destiny. And sometimes we can people would move with us to a certain point in life, but then there come a point in time that for growth and expansion to happen, then there is certain, I don't know how to the word, but certain people leave. Let's say
They
that
have
they
to
just
go.
leave, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
It's not in a harsh way, but it's
No.
just that
Yeah.
that it
It's
part
a
because
pruning.
right, the alignment is not there anymore, right?
Exactly.
And it's time for us to move forward, and all of us, because that's how we rise up.
That's
That's
right.
how we step higher, because each one of us is on our own journey. We embracing who we are because we constantly becoming. And when Dr. Marcy, she spoke about the legacy. What are you leaving behind, right? So at the end of it all, she mentioned that she never heard that somebody who is on their deathbed say, "Well, I should have get another Ferrari. I should have get another degree." No, I wish that I've had much more time, because then I could do much more. I could have been look at my life and see where I was
Mhm.
misaligned, and quickly course correct, so I
Yeah.
could really serve well and live my purpose. So that there's a scripture say that what is the scripture that it says, I've done my work, or whatever it is, that I know I'm messing it up, but um the point is, you want to reach a space in your life that is no more time for gossiping, no more time for wasting time on things that is not serving you well, no more time that you allotting your energy that don't lift you up, no more time that things that are going to you function in a low energy. You want to live your higher self, and if you're not there yet, it takes time to get
Takes
to
time to
move
get
on
there.
that glide. That's okay, but you want to be intentional because you know where you want to go and who you want to become. And you might in a place tonight that, I don't like where I am. I don't feel good about myself. My energy
Mhm.
doesn't feel right. Then it's time for you to listen to this replay. Take time for you, make that level of pause, listen to Dr. Marcia and Will and myself and Lady K, what we've spoken about tonight, and you could join us back for part two and help. So this is tools that can help you to move into the level of growth and expansion, because at the end of the day you want to live the best version of yourself. That is why you're in the universe, and the universe is here to support you. So,
Absolutely.
Will, I'm going to toss the mic to you as we wrap up. Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Marcia.
Woo. That's a lot. This was a good show. Um, I'm
It
glad we're
was.
going to do a part two to it, because I think that we touched on a lot of things, but there, like you just said, Lady J, there are a lot more things that we could put into this to pull back into you too, so you can open the doorway for more possibilities. Because that's what this is all about in the end, is you being able to understand that just because one door closes for you is not the end of the journey. There are so many more possibilities to this if you would allow yourself to tap into the energy and see it. It's just so much more to it. And so once you do that, you'll see that one ending is not the end of the journey. It's
Right.
just the ending of that journey.
Hmm.
So you're going to pack your bags and go on a new one. And that's what this is all about, is for you to be able to do that. And so, especially as Karen said, at this time, when people are struggling emotionally, trying to figure out, how to get up the next morning and continue this journey, you need some aspect of inspiration that you already have this in you, but sometimes you need a spark. And so that's what shows like this will do for you, is maybe one word out of the whole show that you've seen, but it may take
Right.
just one single word that actually triggers you and let you know that this is not the end for you. There is something more for you to do. And so I'm glad that we're going to do a part two, and I'm looking forward to it. And,
Mhm.
tune in and so we can finish the conversation. That's it for me,
That
I
part.
guess. Thank you for having me on and Dr. Marcy showing up to do the show as well. Uh, I look forward to next week, just add something else to the table.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting next week too. I wanted to talk about receiving in your season. We talk
Mm.
about receiving our
Wow.
pruning season in those seasons. So maybe next week would be different, because in the
Yes.
different season, the receiving is so much different and the
Oh
pouring
my
out
God,
is so
that is
much
so
different.
beautiful. That is
So
so
I
beautiful.
would love if we could talk about that. Maybe next week we could continue this. But I want us
Thank you
to
for
look at our
queuing us up
different
for that.
seasons. Yes. Because the receiving in a winter season, your pruning season, and those seasons are so much different. And
Wow.
so many people give up at that time. So we want to look at what is your receiving at that time, and what are you pouring out? What should you be pouring out? And as you receive in that season, what are the lessons you're learning, the messages that you must take?
Wow.
And how are you to talk about the new beginnings and the baggage that you cannot carry with you, and some persons that you can't carry with you because of the changes that are in those seasons, and how the receiving has changed. And so I'm looking forward. It was a pleasure this week. I'm looking
Oh
forward
my
to
God.
next
Yes.
week.
Yeah.
And we
Wow.
talk about the same art of
Wow.
receiving and so on, but in our different seasons, because it is a climate of seasons at this time. The
Wow.
time is so complex, it's so changing. Persons are at their wits' end, many are burning out, many need to receive, and many need to pour out. And so the complexity of that must be understood.
Complexity.
Mm. Because
Wow.
it pouring back into yourself at this time can make you feel so guilty. The
Right.
burnout will make you not understand why you need to pour back into yourself. And the boundaries are so important at this time also, that we need to set. When you're pouring into yourself, you have to set healthy boundaries, and they
Wow.
have to be practical and they have to be intentional. And it has to be done with love for yourself that is balanced with the love for those who you're serving. Because a lot of times when you take the time to pour into yourself, persons who have always seen you as their way out become very angry instead of understanding.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are persons who have become so dependent on manipulating you and controlling the outcomes for themselves, that when you pick that up and you set those boundaries, they become very resentful and bitter. You have to know how you receive that, because that is something you have to receive also. But in the receiving, it is just for clarity. You have to understand when you're receiving things for clarity, when you're receiving things for teaching, for preparation. You have to understand those so you don't mistake those things and give people the wrong cues to think that you are just there. You're just there to be at their beck and call, because that's not going to happen. So sometimes we are receiving messages that push us into a guilt, back us into a wall where we feel so guilty for saying no, for serving ourselves, for taking a vacation, for actually spending time to upgrade ourselves, for taking a vacation leave to study, to pour into yourself. We are led and pushed to a culture where we normalize exhaustion and normalize giving and being there for everyone, that the moment we try to be there for ourselves, even to do our nails or to do our hair, we feel so guilty and we double check. Are you okay? I am just going to be 5 minutes more. That's not honoring yourself. That's not good. And we do all of those things, and we need to set those boundaries. People need to understand how to do it too, and the strategies that they need. And you know, I always look at the fact when we never had telephone and WhatsApp and all of those things, and persons were sick or died, we still got the message. But no, we just can't put our phones down. We crash because our phone ring and we can't wait until we get to where we're going. And the news will still get to us. I see many persons, they are going to church and they forget their phones and they rush back. They reach half mile and they turn back, but they forget the Bible and they continue going. They'll get one at church. I look at, so receiving and pouring out. We want to look at what really matters. What really matters. And we want to get that in, because that's the practical side
Yeah.
of receiving and pouring out that we tend to miss because we look at the fluff. But when we look at the real things that keep us going, because we feel this obligation to our parents, we feel this obligation to our job. There are some of us who put off our vacation so the team can keep going, and a big project has come and the organization is there. And we have to be careful about that, because what are we sacrificing for something else? Because every time we receive the wrong thing, we sacrifice something else. And every time we pour, we refuse to pour into ourselves. We are giving up something valuable, that is honorable, and that is very, very divine, that the universe is going to repay us for, because we are expected to have discernment and wisdom. So this program for me was very timely, and it was very well needed. And the second part must come, because the second part is what is dangerous. The second part is what is really, really needed, because the pouring into self is misunderstood a lot, because self-love that is destructive and make you selfish and climb on other people to get ahead is not pouring into yourself.
No.
So we want to understand that too. So some persons, when they hear that they are to choose me, and it is time that they pay attention to me, think it is something that must be taken out of context in that way. So it becomes very unbalanced. And when we walk on people to get ahead, we lose our balance also, because we are not rewarded by pouring into ourselves. We are now creating a legacy that is accompanied by a plaque of hate, because we hinder others and we push them aside to, according to us, take care of ourselves and choose ourselves first. So we want people to understand that balance, because no man is an island and no one stands alone. So in pouring into yourself and receiving, you must understand that it is going to be given back to you. And that is it. And there's a little song that talks about that. It comes right back to you. So if you give the love, it comes right back to you. You give joy, it comes right back to you. So if you're pouring into yourself, you need to understand that you're doing it as a steward. And if you're doing it as a steward, it's because you're filling so you can pour into others. That's really it. It's not a filling up for you. It's a filling up to be pouring into others.
Right.
That is the balance that many people miss. So whatever I have, my time, my resources, whether they are human resources, talents, gifts, whatever I am, when I perfect those gifts, it's really to help others to perfect their gifts, so that we can have a balanced space where each person is able to produce what they were created to produce. And we are able to exchange the gifts and talents that will serve the needs of each of us. So an artist is able to give us a framed picture, and I am able to coach. That's it. There is a balance and there's a fair exchange that is voluntarily, that creates a community of practice and mutual accountability. Pouring into yourself must create a community of practice and also mutual accountability. If that's not happening in our home, if my home is not changing and improving when I constantly pour in myself, then I'm not pouring into myself. I'm making a selfish choice. Because my building up must build up all of the others around me. And that's why we need to understand receiving and pouring into yourself in a toxic environment, for example, a toxic work environment or a toxic relationship. We want to understand those too, because those are common things that we overlook and common circumstances that we overlook until we get burnt out or we get a nervous breakdown, or we feel so betrayed and hurt that we have nothing left to give, because the bitterness took its time to fester, because we were stuck in that situation because we didn't have a way out. And that came to me, Lady J, when we talk about being in a situation now where we have no choice, because some of us are not given a choice because we are in a preparation and a pruning season. So God is not taking us out of the space, because you have to be pruned and prepared to move out. So how do you pour into yourself in those contexts, and how do you receive? What is it that you really receive? Because how you receive is very different. Because if you're receiving pressure or instruction, if you have a P9 and so on, what is the lesson that God is teaching me? How is it preparing me? And where am I reaching to? And what will I be able to do? These skills that I'm developing, these coping skills that I'm using to deal with the situation, what can I use them to do? Where will I be taken? And so when you look at it like that, you begin to bloom, even though it is toxic. And that's and those are the things I wanted to deal with. But because of, as I said, I'm not in my space, I had a difficulty. And I love the discussion today. And I'm thinking we could continue, Mr. Will. You're correct.
Yeah. It was so beautiful. It was a true joy. It was rich.
Very.
It was rich. It was lined with transformational, inspirational, and all the good stuff to go along with it. But you can feel the level of change when you when one person could sit with themselves and go within and really look at yourself and see, where am I at this point in my life, and how am I moving? Am I moving with intention? Am I moving with intentionality? Where am I giving in the wrong place that is not serving me well? Am I moving in a level of alignment, or am I drawing in what is the good, the God give, that's going to be for me for everlasting? That it's for me, but also to share with others, that can inspire them and can lift them up so that they can step higher and they can embrace their true calling as well.
Yes.
Lady K, thank you, Dr. Marcia. Lady K, we're not hearing you.
Technology.
Yeah.
Yes, it's really
we're
a,
not,
a big.
we're not we see you smiling, but we're not hearing
Yes.
you.
You guys are hearing me now?
We can
Yes.
hear you
Yes,
loud
we
and
are.
clear.
You're hearing me?
Yeah, we
Mhm.
can hear you now. Yep.
Yes, we're hearing you now.
You know, as I was saying, thank you, Dr. Marcy. Thank you, Will, for coming into this space and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with this space, because this message is really needed for a time like this. Because as Dr. Marcy talked about, see, a lot of people are going through different seasons at this point in time in their lives. Seasons, we have to know what to receive and what not to take,
Exactly.
you know, and behind and what we need to take with us. Because many times we cannot differentiate what we should leave behind and what we should take with us.
That's
There
true.
is where the spirit of discernment comes into play, right? Because
Mhm.
when seasons happening in our life, let's look at nature. We in the United States going to be heading into fall, right? It's
Mhm.
another season, and the leaves going to start to come off the tree, right?
Right.
Because the tree know it's a season, we are going into a different season. So it's the same thing with our lives. We gotta know what we're gonna leave to the of our lives, right? So,
Right.
this evening, this was such a because I have learned tonight from Dr. Marcy and Will, and I know Joan as well. We learn from each other as we
Good.
Right.
exchange.
Of course.
And I know to
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
the audience out there, I know you learned a lot of stuff this evening, you know. And what we need to do, we need to be proactive rather than reactive.
Mhm.
Hmm.
We are flourishing, but you have to flourish when you're balanced with your self-care balance, your self-care and your service. Because many times we're giving too much and we're not looking after ourselves. So you gotta balance it up. We gotta fill ourselves up so you
Hmm.
have something that you can give. Fill yourself up, flow. So this week, let's pay attention to ourselves. Let's pay attention to ourselves. You deserve to be nourished by the right nourishment. And you got to nourish yourself with the right nourishment, meaning the
Right.
people you're surrounding yourselves with, what you're listening to, all of that is to all of these aspects in your life. Because when you what people are telling you, because remember, you are living your purpose. And a lot of times people can't see where you're going. So they're going to be
Sure.
telling you different things to distract you as an individual. So that is why you have to really have that spirit of discernment. Because a lot of distractions happen to us. A lot of distractions. People will come into our lives and tell us so many things, and it has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with our journey where we are heading. But that is distraction. So you got to pay attention to your journey and to your purpose. So be careful how you're nourishing yourself with things saying to you, because it may not be the right nourishment for you at this point in time.
Right.
So just be careful.
Yeah.
Careful with what you're putting on your plate.
Very much
What
so.
you're putting on your plate, be careful with it. Not everything you put on your plate is for you to eat. So just be careful. This is a message for somebody out there. I don't know why I'm saying this, but this is a message for somebody out there who needs to hear this. Be careful what you're eating. Eating spiritually, eating emotionally, eating physically.
Wow.
Just be careful
That's
what
very
you're
deep.
eating.
That's deep. That's very deep, no, Lady K.
Be careful. Look at what you're
What you're receiving.
eating, because not everything is to nourish your mind, body, and your soul. So just be careful. Just be careful. I know sometimes you're in a down season, and you may be so open, and you may want so many things, but have the spirit of discernment to know what to accept and what not to accept.
Very much so. Totally
Be
agree.
mindful, intentional, be self-aware of all the things that you're doing at this point in time of your life. Just be careful. Just be careful. Not everything that's shining like a diamond is a diamond.
Pay attention to the gift, man.
Not everything that glittering looking like everybody who you see. People are sometimes a sheep come as a wolf. Just be careful. I don't know who need to hear this message tonight, but just be careful. I am getting chills that I'm speaking. So somebody need this message. Somebody need this message tonight. Just be careful. Just be careful. Just be careful. Just be careful. We want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time and sitting with us this evening, because this space here this evening, there were so many energetic downloads. So many messages was being delivered in this space this evening that the collective here, whether you like it or not, it may not be for you at this moment, but listen and pay attention, because you're going to need this message as you move through life. And you can always come back and play the replay and listen to it. And if you know someone who is going through a period in their life right now who you think need this message, we highly suggest that you share this podcast with them today, because you're helping them. You're helping them to receive the right nourishment that they need. So again, we just want to thank you so much. And to Dr. Marcia and to Will, we just want to thank you so much for taking the time and sitting in this space. And Lady J already asked you guys to the part 2, so we get in the part 2.
Yeah, we're getting to part 2. Okay, good.
Very much
Let's do
so.
it.
We get in the part 2. Yes.
Thank you. We thank you. We both thank you guys.
we're going to be having the part 2. So look out for part 2. And the part 2 is going to deal receiving in the seasons, because Dr.
Yes, very much so.
Marcia
How we
already talked
receive
about
and
it. And
pour out in the seasons.
look out for exactly. So thank you guys so much, and to the audience on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, 246 Bajan Vibes family, and sitting with us. And we hope you take away something from this podcast this evening to move you through life and on your journey. Because you know what? We are the ecosystem. And when you breathe out your carbon dioxide, you got to full back yourself with the oxygen. Look where you're breathing and where you are inhaling. Just pay attention. Pay attention as you go through this week. Who you're breathing into and what you're breathing in.